Hello folks, welcome back to the workshop. How the hell are yous? Today we have a bit of a treat for yous. A Bosch GSH11E hammer, but not one of them. I actually have several of these on for repair today. So today we're going to do a wee special one. We'll do a Bosch GSH11E special, a repairathon of these here hammers. See if we can get them all up and running again. We'll start with this one. First thing, let's see what she's doing. Obviously nothing, she's already switched on. Out. And a wee thing to have at hand is a wee socket tester. This is for the 110 box. Basically it's the first machine of the day. Yeah. Quick and easy way to make sure it's not your actual power source that's the problem. My transformer's alright. So the problem's the machine. Sometimes you can start onto these and start stopping them, thinking there's an electrical problem because you're not getting any power. Turns out to be your power source. You could have a trip gone or a transformer could have blown. Best way to save all the trouble is just have someone at hand to test the actual socket itself. Make sure it's getting power. So this is none. So what's it going to be? Lead or brushes. The lead's not old. Looks like it might have been changed recently. Well, chance brushes. There's the older hammer, Phillips 3 bits. Going to say it's not the brushes, but there's the problem there. This one's moving. Move it up and down the spring. Move them back and forth along with the armature if you give it a wee wiggle. This one. Move the armature, the brush is not moving. That brush is the problem. And she's very stiff. Don't want to break that lead. There may be nothing wrong with the brush, it could be just a bit of grit jammed inside. Yank that out. Brush is fine. Why wouldn't it move? Armature looks okay. The spring's got tension. I think that's alright. Because of these wee fins here, little stones and bits of grit get wedged onto them. So if one gets jammed under in there, the brush moves down, you can actually jam up against the brush. I must have dislodged it whenever I yanked the thing out. So that should hopefully now run. Now there it is there. There's the problem. Can you see it? It's actually the spring itself. Just see there, look, where the spring's been rubbing. That spring's been bent. So once the brush has moved down so far and the spring moves down, she's actually wedged itself against the side of the brush holder. So that needs to be replaced. Replaced or straightened. Seeing as I have them in stock, may as well replace. You can see how that one's been changed. Someone has bent that out. So that's no good. Bit tricky to get it on with the armature in place. Wee bit of a wiggle, but it will go on. Get the actual wee flat end on first, and then retension the spring. And just be careful, because on this side of the machine there's another little brass strip that runs the length down here. That's actually the red light indicator for when the brushes run empty. Just make sure you don't bend that. It'll not affect the machine, and if you bend it up and it makes contact, it'll leave the red light on permanently. Still plenty of meat in them brushes as well, so we'll just reuse them. They're only about halfway worn. Now, because that's now a new spring, springs generally, as they get older, can fatigue a little bit and lose some of their springiness. So the actual tension they're applying to the brush can be weaker. So you don't want this one to be tight and this one to be weak. Which it is. So actually, we'll just replace this one as well, so that they're nice and even. If they're not even, you do risk causing damage to the armature. Be more current going through one brush than the other. The weaker one can tend to arc, cause damage to the con bar, burn out the machine. Just replace the two if you are replacing one of them. That one actually was misshapen as well. Very, very rarely have I ever replaced a spring on one of these brush holders. It's not something that ever really goes. That's it. Bearing's alright as well. Let's see if she'd run. Never run these machines as well without this bottom nut. It has to be installed before you switch it on. Nice one. That's the first one up and running again. Nice simple fix. Two little springs. Let's hope the rest are as easy as that. If we're going by the odds, more than likely at least one will need a service. On to the next one. This boy says it just stopped. There's like a 240 volt one. Don't often see them in 240, normally they're always 110. This must be for private use. Just the lead, nice and simple. This might be a quick video. Yeah, there's always one. It's a bit dirty up here, but she's a hammer. It's going to be dirty. As long as it's not greasy, there's nothing wrong with the dust. Doesn't really matter which way you wear these on. But if you want, you can just mark them. The original lead as well, still has the molded plug attached. She's a 2004 machine, 20 years old now, still with the original lead. Cable, use whatever you want. You need 2 core, and it needs to be at least 1.5 mil for this here hammer. And the stuff to get is this here H07RN. It's a nice soft rubber cable, nice and soft and flexible. That's a Nexon brand. A wee bit better quality, lasts a bit longer. For the plug, this is just a Prima plug, one we always use now. We used to always use Dura plugs, way better. They're a nice rubber coating on them. They're too expensive now. The price we were selling them out at, we can't even buy them on for anymore since COVID. So these are the ones we use now. As always, bootless ferrules on all these leads. Not essential, just makes installation a lot easier. Plus it just looks a lot better. Replace your grommet as well if it's all damaged or torn. This one's alright. These hammers, you can still buy them today. They're a really good hammer to have. If you need hammer only and you need lots of power, they're one of the best options available. And when they say old tools were built to last, you can't beat older tools. Like so this one, 20 odd years old, still running grand, it just needs a lead. Still being sold today, the exact same design, exact same parts, exact same setup. One of them tools just lasted and stood the test of time. One of Bosch's flagship machines. One of the very few things that's actually different between this older one and a new model. It's actually just the screws. These are all flatheads. One bought today will all have torque heads. That's about the only difference. Everything else, all the parts, completely interchangeable. Should be it. That's her. Another simple one. One lead replaced. Up and running again. On to number 3. Right, she's running and she's hammering. But she has a service light on. So service light, generally it means leave it on for a service, but you don't actually have to get it completely serviced. All that means is the brushes are just about worn out. When the brushes wear out, they come in a service kit, so you can buy the whole service kit and redo the entire thing again. But these are a fairly reliable machine. You can easily change these here brushes at least once before you need to service them. This one here, 2014, 10 years old, and she may only just need a set of brushes. These ones here, all torque heads. This is a newer type machine. It's not gone, but it's not great. Brushes not worn out, but it's got the light on. Replace them, see if that puts the light out. That's the number for the brushes if you ever need them. Now these are only about halfway worn out. Well, but more than half. Normally we would go down a wee bit more than that. But lights on, as well replace them. Could be a case with this wee bar down on here. It's actually wicken, maybe she's moved. That might be switching the red light on a wee bit too early. But to fix that, we would need to replace the actual whole brush holder. This piece here. That'll be an extra 30 or 40 quid onto the repair. Not really necessary. It's not really doing anything. The red light's just telling you to change the brushes. As long as it runs now fine without the red light, there's no real need to replace it. That is also a problem there. Brush is on. It's not making contact. This is the same as what I was saying for the first machine. Need to watch these wee brush holders. To make sure all these wee fins, these wee openings, vents, are all clear. Make sure there's no wee bits of grit blocking them. That brush should run through nice and smoothly with no obstruction. That's better. Just going to change that bearing as well. Might as well do it now when it's here. Yeah, just replace that. It's not gone either, but she's getting very slack. Just pull that O-ring out from in there. To actually get the bearing off, I actually just used one of the top nuts, bore out the middle of it, thread the center, put a bolt down through it. Thread that on, clamp the nut on a vise, and just turn your screw to actually press off your bearing. It's a 6200 bearing. And just press that bearing onto the armature. Now we're good to go. just for good measure. I'll top up that grease as well. Actually put it straight down and through the bearing into the hammer chamber itself, just in case it's a little light. It's always helpful to top it up a bit. Don't put in too much, mind you. 10 or 20 mil is enough, because you don't actually know how much is in there. You could very easily overfill it. But when it's 10 years old, you can nearly guarantee some of it's going to have degraded or leaked out. Bits are wearing out. They're starting to slip far too much now. I think a new set is needed. Should be her. That nut's actually doing, the bottom of the armature is actually sitting too far down and it's rubbing on the air deflector. That nut actually lifts up the bearing fully and seats it right, so it gives the fan the clearance it needs to run. So if you don't put it on when you're finished, you're going to cause all types of trouble whenever you switch it on. She runs, there's no red light. And she hammers. That's what we want. That's another one with a fairly simple fix. A set of brushes, a bearing, and a little bit of grease. Right, next up, another GSH11E. This one's a bit odd. Different style of badge. A bit purpley colour. And the change lever's a different colour, more of a shade of blue. This is a new machine. No. 2010. Same actual type number as well. 316741. These are sold all over the world, so they are, and some of them have actually different numbers on them. Same machines, just a different type number, just from allocation, different parts of the world, different motors, different frequencies, different hertz. But this one here is the same number that I would normally be working with, but it's not looking like the same type of machine. Even the actual motor housing is a different shade of blue to this. She's 14 years old, so she's not fresh, but she's very fresh looking. Let's see what's wrong with it. Ooh, that sounds nasty. Right, two things going on there. Right, we'll raid the bench here a wee bit because probably going to have to strip this one down. Give myself a wee bit of room. Right, first off, check the armature, because that actually doesn't sound all that great. It sounds a wee bit spluttery. Back to the PH3. Actually a POSI 3, not a PH3. Which is tight. Bearing's good. Right, this one is a wee bit odd. Actual brush holder is different. It's a black brush holder. Does look very similar. It's nearly exactly the same, apart from the colour and a few little subtle differences. It should be the right one, so you just use a different colour somewhere else. Pull out the motor first. This is just seeming a little bit strange. That is not a Bosch screw. It's not the right length, not the right type, not the right head. There's one thing, one part being different. But a little thing like that, you'd think they'd be all the same. That brush as well. That's not a proper Bosch brush. That's the right number, A69. That's not the same type of spade connector on it. The actual Bosch one have a thicker spade connector, or a bronze colour, and the lead's bronze. The screws longer. I think this might be a copy, or at least a copy motor. We'll soon see. This could be an interesting one. Even that spring's not right. Same wee short screw. That doesn't even look all that right. Yeah, there's a copy. Why is it making that noise? It's not all that well made now. That fan's very rough. The windings are very thick. Right. Gonna have to go a wee bit deeper. Yeah, I would say that's just a copy motor block there. Somebody's already burnt this motor out. Just replace this here with a second hand, and just replace this here whole block with a copy motor. Go on deeper and see. No wonder I got that wrong. They are a POSI 3, but they're meant to be a PH3. And then up here again they have a socket head. Yeah, so this is also wrong, and that's a copy switch. No markings at all on it. Don't know if this is... Mind you, that looks right. This lead's pulled out, look. So the speed controller might be genuine. Yeah, a genuine speed controller. That's obviously fake as well. It's not even a spring. That's just mild steel. Jeez. Normally that's a big tight fit to get that thing off. It's made of spring steel. That's just mild steel. Easily bend it. So things are also fake up here. The question is this side fake? Bosch don't use stainless steel bolts, so they're not the right ones either. It looks like this whole head might be counterfeit. This whole machine might be a copy. And that's not the right head. So she is a total fake. So she is a completely counterfeit Bosch. The plate's not even pressed down right. Yeah. Never seen one of these before. That's something there. This is all different as well. Same idea. Just this felt sleeve is a lot narrower in the middle. And this here centerpiece here on the machine is a lot narrower. Everything's there, but everything's just not right. That is a genuine Bosch. It's extremely convincing. It's all basically there, apart from just a few cast lines. These here are thicker. It's very convincing. It's just not exactly right. Let's see, up here is different as well. That's crazy. Never seen a counterfeit hammer, especially copied to that extent. Exact copy of the Bosch GSH11E. It does look like everything's here. Why wouldn't it work? Problem is, especially parts like this here, this is cast aluminium. Casting's fairly easy, you can copy it, very straightforward. Difficulty is the actual finish. It becomes expensive manufacturing this whenever you go into the actual tolerances then of the surface finishes, the way it's ground down and finished off, bearing bores, all that sort of stuff. So copy one obviously isn't going to be as accurate, so it's not going to be as accurate a machine. So the tolerance and reliability won't be the same. Not even the right grease in it. There's something smashed anyway in it. Yeah. Here's the problem. Broke the con rod. I knew it sounded funny when I was running. Now, crank looks okay. Get away with the crank. It's actually a heavier bearing they're using. Bosch one's not even that heavy. Even the cage of it is a bit more heavy duty. Not much grease in it, mind you, as well. Plus it's the wrong type of grease. Might be one of the reasons why the actual con rod failed. There's also a copy striker. This is a genuine one. Very little difference in it. It's just a surface finish and the wee finishing touches that give it away. She has the right length, mind you. Wee beveled edges up here, but this one's not. So it's just sharp finish. Right, question is, do we fix it now that we know that's a copy? Suppose we may as well. Interesting to see if it'll run. This could be a complete and utter waste of time, but there's only one way to find out, and that's give it a go. Strip it, clean it, replace the part, and see if it runs. With it being a copy, can't imagine it's going to run very well. Because it's actually busted the con rod. There's bits of plastic and all jammed inside the machine and mixed in through the grease. It has to be washed out. Nothing's just right. In the wrong colour activator button for the switch. That's not a very good fit. That's the lever. This lever actually connects up onto your slide switch and pushes this up and down. Pushes down, pushes on the switch to activate it. That is just nylon. And that's made totally from plastic. No glass fibre reinforcing in that. So obviously it's going to wear very, very fast there. So I can't imagine this is going to be switching on for very long. That's your hammer pipe. Your piston. O-rings are also going to be a problem. This being a copy, I'll not have the exact one. Chances of the original fitting it are slim. Right. Chance cleaning this out and rebuilding it. So this is the genuine Bosch part that we need. Actual con rod. This thing here. So the actual Bosch part is PA66CF20. That's the material selection number, what it's made from. So PA66 stands for nylon. That's the most common type of nylon plastic used in industry. And CF20 stands for carbon fiber reinforcement 20%. So it's a nylon plastic with 20% carbon fiber reinforcements. So normally plastic parts like this, especially nylon, will have glass fiber reinforcement of about 30%. Bosch actually went with this higher end carbon fiber reinforcement because this gives a much higher structural strength, better compression and tensile strength, as well as better. Plus it also has better sliding properties. So carbon fiber would actually be a smoother material, so it gives better sliding properties, so it's able to resist wear better. Glass fiber is actually more abrasive, so in certain parts, like inside your chamber or on your O-rings itself, the glass fiber can help wear it out that little bit quicker. This here, less so. On a steel can, when it's glass fiber, it can actually wear the steel a little bit, not all that much. The carbon fiber has far better lubrication properties, slides a lot better and wears a lot less, plus been a lot stronger. This one, just plain plastic, I would imagine. Yeah. Yeah, maybe a wee bit of glass fibre on there, but obviously, going by the shape of it, there's no real structural strength at all. I wouldn't say that. There's PA66, I'd say it's a lower grade nylon. So the actual con rod's no good, so I'm going to replace it with a proper Bosch one. As for overall parts, can't see this thing lasting very long at all. Even just a hammer pipe. This here steel needs to be seriously hard to resist wear and to actually function. If you look at it, you can already see the marks and things on it. Plus, it's not all that hard. I can actually scrape it with a screwdriver. So that isn't going to last anyway, that's going to wear out or break. The hammer, the bit that's actually doing the work, this is what's actually hitting your striker and side, what hits your chisel. So this is impacting on steel that's hitting concrete. This needs to be seriously hard. Even just give it a wee tap. Actually dents. It's not that hard at all. Genuine Bosch. Barely anything. Bosch one is just solid, hard steel. They need to be hard. If they're not properly hardened, that's just going to either wear out or snap in half. And going by the marks on this thing already, I would say that's not all that hard at all. Two main parts that need to be hardened steel isn't even hardened. If they're not hard, you wouldn't see that's properly heat treated, nor the armature gear on top. So longevity on this thing's not going to be there, but for short term use I would say it would work. You can see the wear on that pin already. The grease is also going to be a problem here. What grease do I put onto it? I'm not going to replace these O-rings or anything else because it's a cheap copy machine. It's not going to be worth it. If you put more money into it, the more money I put into it, it's more money that could simply be wasted. So we'll do minimum work to this thing as possible. Don't want to use this normal Bosch grease because it's a lot lighter. And this seal I don't think is going to hold it in. Once this gets warm, it's going to pull here. And I'd say that seal's going to leak. And I don't want to use the heavier Bosch grease because I don't think that motor is up to actually working through the viscosity of it. Instead, I'm going to go with a general purpose red lithium grease. It's a little bit in between the two viscosities, so that might run better. Plus, that's what was actually in it to begin with. There was actually a blue lithium grease in it. So we'll go with the red one. So we'll actually just go with the red one because that's what I have. Don't understand the reason behind the badge either. 2010. I wouldn't say this thing's that old. So why put on a 2010 badge? No little O-ring on the bearing as well. It'll survive that. Very badly molded up on here. See, everything might look right. It seems good. Just because it looks good doesn't mean it is good. Fit and finish doesn't matter. What matters is the actual tolerance. So the bore for this has to line up with the bore for this one. They're not exactly right. The tolerance for these two parts isn't exact. That motor is going to be sitting at an angle. So the tolerance in all these parts isn't correct. The way they're machined doesn't line up perfectly. Everything's going to be sitting off to one side or not running smoothly. Getting them tolerances is what costs the money. Higher the tolerance, the more expensive it is to actually manufacture and machine. So the bearing bore for this, holding the bearing, the exact location for all the stuff so that the motor lines up perfectly square between the field and this housing and this plastic base that actually holds the bottom bearing. If they're not exact, this thing's not going to line up correctly. That's where the money comes into it. Cheap machine isn't going to have the same sort of tolerance on these kind of parts. So these things will probably run, but you're not going to get a lot of time out of it. As we can see. holes in the hammer pipe face up the way. Line it up to the piston, just twist it, push. Even the O-rings in this are actually a softer rubber. Not actually going to last all that long. Plus, not a very good fit. It'll do for now, but I can't see that lasting. Now, have I totally wasted my time? Sounds okay. But does she hammer? Yes. Test right in the block here. That's her. Copy or not, she's running. How long she lasts is a different story. Obviously, looking at it there now, this thing's done absolutely no work. I say 2010. This year, that's done nothing. Head of this normally gets all scuffed and scraped and damaged. Not a mark on it, apart from there. The rest of the body, barely a mark on it. The handle's the only thing that's actually showing any sign of use. Everything else just has a wee bit of dust on it. This has done nothing, and it already broke that conrod. Bosch conrod on it now, so that will last longer. Rest of the components, how long they last, I do not know. I do know you can get copy armatures for these machines, aftermarket ones. They're a lot cheaper to buy than the actual Bosch one. The genuine Bosch armature for the 11E probably wouldn't be worth fitting. They're too expensive. Copy ones are only option if you want to put a motor into one. But don't know if that's the exact one or not. That one doesn't look all that good a quality. But for the price of the copy ones, it's worth trying out. I've always meant to actually do a video on them. That one there, it's not great, but for the money, if it's the same price as the ones on eBay, wouldn't be that bad. Sure as hell beats 300 or 400 quid for the genuine Bosch one. And if you're actually looking to buy one of these machines, if you're looking at one, maybe a second hand one or a new one, and you want to know if it's fake or if the one you have is fake, a few telltale signs you can tell. First, colours don't match. This here lighter shade of blue, it's totally the wrong colour. Should be more this colour. Badge as well, wrong shade of blue. There's more of a purple colour. It should really be the same colour as this here, this dark blue. The badge itself should fit this panel perfectly. Shouldn't be smaller than it. Should be more like this. An exact fit. Plus the actual lettering and everything on the badge just doesn't look exactly right. They should all be bold cases like this, nice and thick. The actual patterns inside differ from country to country. Rear handle. The rear handle on the Bosch has these wee dimples in it, and it's a soft rubber moulded onto the back itself. This one here, handle is not soft rubber. It's nearly like fake leather. It's just a hard plastic, just molded onto there. Also, bolts on the older versions they would have been flatheads, and on the newer machines they would be Torx. On the bottom, this nut here, see if it's actually a black metal that's on it, meant to be silver, like this one here. And on top it has this round mark as well. This is part of the injection moulding for the actual part was manufactured. Genuine one doesn't have that circle. But in fairness, between the two, fairly difficult to tell the two apart. They are very, very similar. It even has the little man telling you to read your instruction manual moulded onto the housing itself. So everything's there, it's just not exactly right. It'll be hard to tell the difference, but there are a couple of ways you can tell. Everything else inside will be obvious, especially this clamp here for holding on the handle. That should be spring steel. You shouldn't be able to bend it like that. Anyway, another Bosch GSH11E, this time a complete and utter knockoff. But she's up and running again, and for fairly cheap as well. So that'll do her. Now, number 5. This one, customer says, hammer's not right. Right, see what that means. Right, straight away, red light's on, so it probably needs a set of brushes, but also that's running way too fast. And there's no variable speed, so either this controller's totally failed or else somebody's wired it in directly. That's running far too fast. Might seem like a good idea getting a hammer to run even faster, get it to do more work, actually do less work. These use harmonics for actually running the hammer mechanism. Pistons going back and forth. She's got a weighted hammer that she's pulling and pushing back and forth. That hammer is hitting a striker, then it hits your chisel. So because the piston's pulling it and pushing it, if the speed's not right, the hammer is going to interfere with the piston. You're not going to get a proper stroke. So these speeds on the side of your hammer, they're not going to be an infinite speed variation. It's going to be steps, because that there has to be running at the right speed, at the right frequency for the hammer to work. If they're set too high, piston will be moving forward whenever the hammer mechanism is still moving backwards, and it's going to lose a lot of energy. You'll find if they run too hard, they're either going to be very weak in the hammer, or they'll simply not hammer at all. See the way the hammer comes on as she's slowing down, and if you keep the pressure on in the hammer, it can't get up to full speed again, and it will keep hammering. But if she gets up to full speed, she won't hammer. Full speed. So that looks like the problem, a speed problem. When you initially switch her on, if you keep the pressure down on the hammer action will come on. Because you're leaning down on it, the motor can't get up to full speed and she'll keep hammering. Once you lift it away, hammer action stops, motor goes full tilt, you put her back down again, not getting any hammer action because the motor's running too fast. So we see what we can do about that, see if this here's faulty or it's been wired direct. There's the newer type machine, torque heads. Yeah, 2016 this one. Brushes are totally gone. So they're worn out. Replace them. The actual hammer action in this machine, don't think it needs a service. I think the hammer action's alright. It feels alright when it's running. It might just be the speed controller. Pulling off these slide switches, make sure you prise them up from the bottom. The bottom is clipped on. The top has these two prongs. If you prise them from the top, you'll break them off. You'll not get this back on again. Not running direct. Looks like the speed controller has actually failed. Place this. There we go. One set of brushes and one new speed governor. That part number, this is actually the old part. This old stock that I have here. These machines, this GSH11E, these have been on the market for over 20 years. We have parts that are sitting here for 20 years. This is one of the older ones. So this is actually the older part number. That's now changed. So if you're looking for these now today, it's 1607233 So this here is just the older number. Same part, just a different number. And you have to get these in the right voltage also. The 110 and the 240 are different voltages. So get rid of that and wire in this. Make sure your wiring is tucked up on here. There's little slots for them to hold the wires. Just keeps everything neat and tidy. You're looking a bit greasy up here. That doesn't really matter. The steel plate has actually got a hole in it. So whenever the hammer gets too hot and there's any pressure builds up inside, the pressure can get out. Normally that takes a little bit of grease out with it. That's what this big felt sleeve's for. It's just to soak up the grease if it does come out. So generally for a hammer's being used, this will be a bit greasy up here, so don't worry about that. As long as it's still hammering, that's the main thing. Connectors back on. And that should solve the speed problem. A new set of brushes will solve the red light problem. Make sure this wee notch is facing the back of the handle. It locates into this wee notch here on the bottom plate. Now, let's see what she runs like. Sounds better. I'm just going through the speeds. We test. That's her. Just a set of brushes and a speed controller. Might only be that, but doesn't mean it's cheap. That controller is actually old stock, so it's going by the old part number and has a different price number. So that's costing about €65, so he's actually saving money there. The new one with the new part number is actually around €90 or €95, so the new one's more expensive. But sadly, that's the last of those ones that I have in stock. So from now on, I'll have to order on the new ones. But that might be some time, because they're sitting here maybe 20 years. God knows when I'll need another one. They don't fail all that often. Very, very rarely do you ever need to replace them. So that and a set of brushes, full repair, cost about €90 or €100. And last but not least, the last Bosch hammer for today. This isn't the same as the last ones, but it is the same type of model. Instead of a GSH11E, this is a GBH11DE. Same idea as the 11, this is just a boring version. So the 11E is just hammer only, doesn't rotate. This one here actually rotates also. A bit more expensive and a bit bigger and more heavy, but same sort of setup inside. Some of the parts are even up. Some of the parts can even be changed over. Let's see what's wrong with this one. No power. Doing squat. Let's see what we can do here. Gonna go handle side this time. Don't think this one's a set of brushes somehow. Right, so the lead's okay. Switch is okay. What's going on there? Glue or something up on this. There's something going on in there, though. Well, that is actually a broken wire by the looks of it. Somebody's tried to glue that wire back on again. What are the odds of that? Needing 2 speed governors on the one day. Exact same number needed as well, 027. The last one was the last one in stock. The new version will have to order in, and it's going to be costing about €95. This boy, I don't think, wants to spend an awful lot of money on this. She is fairly well worn. And you could probably do the service, starting to leak grease up the top, but he just wants it up and running. We might do this a cheaper way. So we'll keep the cost down. We'll go with a second-hand speed governor instead. Exact same number. This one's actually off a GSH11E. Same one for the 2 hammers. Swap this out and see if it gets her up and running. that'll do. It'll keep this boy happy. Keep him hammering away and boring for a while longer. She may have a lot of work done, maybe fairly worn out, but there's still plenty of life left in this machine. Just like the GSH11E, it's not unusual to get 20 odd years of work out of one of these machines. That's her. Run it again. Just make sure she's still hammering also. That's her. One Bosch GSH11E up and running again with a second hand speed controller. What are the odds? 2 in the one day. That'll keep us boy running for another while longer. Anyway folks, that's me. That's all the Bosch hammers I have out there for repair today. That'll have to do for now. Hope you're enjoying these longer content videos, by the way. Hope this one wasn't too boring for you. I know it's all of the one type of Bosch hammer, apart from this one, which is a boring hammer, but still gives you a good indication of the common things to go wrong with them. Normal sort of things aren't even that expensive or difficult to fix. Leads and brushes, probably the most common thing to go on them. After that there, probably get into things like an actual service or changing the O-rings inside. Conrod wouldn't be a very common one, don't change them very often, nor is the actual speed controllers. For some reason, 2 of them on today for it. But anyway, hope you're liking the videos, hope you enjoyed this one. If you're liking them, give us a wee like and a follow, and if you want to get a notification when I post one, you can also hit subscribe now. And if you want to support the channel, you can also become members too. Anyway, thanks for watching.